the battle for youth, it makes sense that people like you would think the simple solution is like, oh, well, this person, like has like, like this person has like a kid or has a daughter or a son or whatever. And like, so it's as simple as that. Like this person has a kid and like, that's it. Like you don't need to be battling over it. But it also, let's be mature. Maybe that was what the battle was though, is that it's like, I am like this, like seemingly like, I'm just like very, like, I get kidnapped. And people like people try to like limit my contact with people. Like that's what happened in everything. That's what happened in Frozen. And so I think that that's what the battle for youth is that it's like even if somebody does have a kid and doesn't have any interest in like having many children or whatever, like the battle for youth, like the maturity of that is that it's like, well, that child needs to have friends because look at what happens with me. Like I am a perfectly capable human being, like I am like 100% like fully functional, but like a person can like seem like they have symptoms of someone who is not fully functional if they are not like do not have access to their uh uh like generation and like people similar to them. Like they don't have a social sphere. And so like the battle for youth in that is just like even if somebody has just a kid, they're not trying to like claim all children on earth or anything. That kid that that person has needs to have friends. They need to have a social life. They need to have a community. So like that's what the battle for youth actually was. Is it's like yeah, anybody can just have a kid, but like the battle for youth incorporated like what how kids are going to be raised and like how society kind of has to grow so that people will be safe in life. And that was the whole point of my Enchanted Forest. That was the whole point of the fountain in the Minecraft game. That was the whole point of the story. That's the whole point of this battle. That was the whole point of my life. Is that like the battle for youth incorporates how we're going to educate parents. It incorporates how we are going to um like how like how we're going to like structure our economy, structure our society. Are we going to elect kings? Are we going to have queens? Are we going to like be liberal or conservative? Like these things, like the battle for youth incorporates all of that stuff. So even if somebody only does have one kid or two kids or three kids or four kids, like it's still like the battle for youth. Those kids have to have siblings, or those kids have to have friends. Those kids have to have like a social structure. Those kids have to have like an infrastructure for them to like when they branch out and when they individuate. Those kids have to have a future. And so I think that that's what it is. That's why it's important, and that was why like it was always very important to me to like have a friend, to have friends, to have freedom of speech, and to like advocate for freedom of speech, is for to advocate for free and open relationships, is because like that was me battling for youth, and that was me debating for youth, and that was me like advocating for like youth culture and the future of youth. Is that like the internet was being like used as a replacement for like genuine interaction, whereas it is actually meant to augment our interactions. And so cell phones were being used as a replacement for genuine relationships, and it is intended to augment our relationships. And so in society, people will get to a point where they'll be like, there are parents who like want to ban certain video games, or there are parents who will like want to like shelter kids from things that aren't actually dangerous. And so I think kind of what was happening is that it's like there were things that were happening in society where people like in the battle for youth, it was important to actually detail for people that like censorship and certain things like that aren't necessary if we have free and open relationships, if we advocate for free and open relationships. And like people won't really feel like we won't need to battle for youth as often as far as like how they're going to vote, or like are they going to vote to like benefit their family, or are they going to vote for their independence, or are they going to be voting for the country, are they going to be voting for themselves, are they going to be voting for themselves, the country, and their family? Like that's what the battle for youth was, and that's why it was important that I registered that like even though like somebody like yeah, it's perfectly legal for somebody to just like have a kid or whatever, or to like have their reproductive rights, or to have like the right to adopt a child or something. But those children need to have a community. Those children need to have a life outside of their family. Those children need to have a relationship with the government. Those children need to have a relationship with their like nation. And so like because everybody lives in a country. And so like people need to be educated on like what that is. And then also, you know, like there are Native American reservations. Like there like we like the battle for youth is really incorporating people's worldviews and their schemas. And so like people need to like there are some people who like have to be accustomed and acclimated to somebody who like is a war veteran or something, but who is now like a political figure, or somebody who was an actor but who has like gone to university and is not an actor anymore, doesn't work in that industry or that field. Like people need to be accustomed to these things so that they can encounter somebody who is not from the same culture as them, but then like actually be able to like have a diplomatic relationship with that person, or have a cordial relationship with that person even if they aren't like totally amicable or whatever. And so I think that that was why that was kind of what the maturity of the situation was. And like I had to kind of access when I like actually like developed my maturity, and that's why like that kind of Ryuho Ziggural battle was very important, and why that was referenced a lot. So we can actually put that to rest now. Is that like that 22nd year of my life, and like that 22nd like kind of like year of this sort of test or whatever, and like that story itself. It's also it was 2022, so like that just became very relevant because I had to access my full power, and so like that was what happened, and like I also had to kind of translate that language and translate these like my tutelage so that people would realize like, oh yeah, that was a game that he was playing, just like chess. Like royal people play chess. I like play video games, and I do play video games, and it's like chess. I played Intelligent Qube. Like I played these games because I'm a royal person that was raised to be an American royal. I am a North American person who happens to be royalty. I'm a Native American person who is Native American Heritage Month. I'm a Native American person who is kind of naturally and spiritually royalty in this on this continent. And so like that is it was important in the battle for youth, and just like kind of the discussion and on this like discussion board that we like detailed for people that like I have been in Kansas like kind of mastering the like elements by like surviving them. Like the battle with Hades, the chessboard. Hades has a chessboard. Like that's what this is. It's war games. It's a non-zero sum game. It's I am like demonstrating to people that I am a royal person that has been trained and since birth to be royal. And like that's the whole point of Henry Tudor. That's the whole point of Henry Windsor, Henry de Levant, like Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec, which inspired my some of my artwork. Like that's what it is. And so like that's what it. That's kind of like this is kind of like my sign off for the Novera and the final battle. Is that it's like it was very important for me to detail this for people because in the battle for the healing realm as well, like I had to demonstrate to people that like I actually am perfectly capable of like construction, architecture, healing, communication, and not everybody knew that about me. And that was because there was some gaslighting, there was a war, there was propaganda. So like there were things that happened, and so like I had to demystify that situation, and that was what I did during the battle. But then I had to also like educate people and say, yes, these things happen, but these other things also happen. There was also here's the context to these things that happen. And so when you're educating youth, there are some people who are going to be like, wow, that is a lot. They're going to be like, wow, you seem like the most horrible person ever. Like, but you are just in close proximity to people who are very terrible, and you were raised with people who are very terrible, but you're actually not that bad. And I think that's the whole point of the story is that like I didn't really do any of these things, but like that's the whole point of the battle for youth and conservatism and liberalism and freedom of speech is that like there are people who had to be educated on, oh yes, this person is quite normal, like you have this dark world that you write in, but you're not really like that. And like you have these dark experiences and you have this kind of dark history and this dark ancestry, but you're not actually like that. And so it's like, oh, okay. And I think that that's kind of what it is. But like that was what the battle for youth was. It was a linguistic battle. There were people fighting over the narrative of the truth, and I had to just like be steadfast. They were being stubborn because they were trying to like force their agenda, but I was being adamant that people know the truth. And so like I think that that was the whole point, and like that was kind of how I battled for youth. And this is like my sign off for that because like I just think that that's really important for people to be aware of that, and like I think that it's really important for the Shawnee Mission South soccer team to know that the 30-year-olds that I grew up with and the boys, the Sons of Nova, it's important that they know that because um, this is our world, like this is our planet now, and like you know, Queen Elizabeth was our mother, but that's the whole point of the story is that it's like we have to grow and we have to go and we have to move on and we have to like survive. And that's the whole point. It's like there is a sorrow to the situation, but that's not. I mean, that's the whole point. Like Mother England that is actually true. That America does have this relationship with that country, and like like there are a lot of people from a lot of cultures here, which I think was kind of the point of Tangled. Is that it's like we don't have to call her our mother, but you can. Like we can have a relationship with Mother England, and it's better to soothe that relationship. And it was better that I like actually made an effort to soothe that relationship before she died, because now our relationship with King Charles is better, and our relationship with anyone in that line is going to be better. And if we ever need anything that is like, if we ever need anything like that is that like America doesn't know how to do, or like things that like we didn't learn because like the British brought some things here that was garbage, but like they also like they opened that doorway for other countries to bring things here as well. And so like that's what the melting pot is. And so it's like we like have a relationship with like um England and with Mother England. And like there are some people who are descendants of England. So it's like it is better that we rectified that and that we reconciled that as much as possible and that we restored that as much as possible. So that like now I have a relationship with James Earl of Wessex. I just like hang out with him sometimes. And so like I think that that's why that's important. Is that it's like they were battling this for this country. They wanted this land, and we don't know if they were going to like just like with the Ant Queen. That was what happened in Show Yourself in Frozen. Is that like it was important that we did that. It was important that we did that and that we reconciled that as much as possible because that like it soothes that soothes that like contention and that soothes that like kind of hostility. And so it's like now we are in a position where like if we need something like something that seems like that something that seems like that could go like unnoticed or something, we can go to England and be like, oh hey, like this thing is happening, and then like we're not really super familiar with it. They're like, oh yeah, like that's something that people do. Like they associate things like City Hall with Faces in the Hall. So you don't. That song's not that scary. It's just like he was just attacking freedom of speech because he's jealous. It's like, oh, okay. And it's like, yeah, England is kind of broke. England's kind of a poor country. And it's like, oh, okay. It's like, yeah. Then you just go and be like, oh yeah, cool. And that's the whole point. It's like I like hanging out with poor people. That's the whole point of the story. Is that it's like I like people. I like people who are intelligent. I don't really care where anybody's from or how much money they have. I like smart people. That's what it is. And so like I think that that's what it is this like I like education, and so like since that's what kind of what my true love is like intelligence and knowledge. Like it was important, it is good that we have this relationship with England, and that we have like it's just like if somebody like has to move in with their parents or something, like it's the same thing. And so it's like you have a relationship with England, and like, but then you get back on your feet and you go back into the world because like you like got your life together. And so like that's kind of the same thing that happened with America just now. We didn't know how to have a king, but we kind of felt like we needed one. And so we were like, oh, let's go talk to England really quick. Let's go crawl back to mommy really fast and learn how to have a king. because like there were kings in North America, but that got like obliterated. So like that was the whole point. Is that it's like we had to go to the people we were most familiar with on that on kings on kingliness in the modern era or on royalty in the modern era. But now it's like okay, so now we're like all right, let's come back to America. And we're like we just came home and we're like all right. So like now we're home and we're like all right, cool. Like we just like had to go battle England. We had to go like do this like youth battle with England, but now like we have this king in America, and so like it's chill, but it's like you just gotta like be chill, and I think that's the whole point. And so like it's good. Like this is gonna be really fun. Like we're gonna have a really great time. We were already having an awesome time like with presidents, and we were already like filthy rich with presidents, and now we have a king, and we're even filthy richer. So it's gonna be awesome. You're just gonna have to chill out a little bit. But like it's that's really what it is. It's actually pretty awesome. And it's kind of just like how like if somebody has like a wealthy like brother or like a wealthy father or some kind of wealthy benefactor or something. That's what America is now. That's what the Prosperity Architect Amendment is. I'm gonna update that, but like probably today. But that's what the Prosperity Architect Amendment is. That's what's happening right now. Is like I am this architect who can build these things super cheap, super fast, like literally like for $0. And like it's that's all that it is. The Earth, America primarily, but then like the Earth just has a really rich, wealthy benefactor, and it's me, and I can just make free architecture and pretty much free everything. Like everything can be free now. That's the whole point of the story. And like and it's really there isn't really that much of a downside to it. And so like I think that that's really all that it is. That it's like America just has this very wealthy like benefactor at the moment. And it is me, the architect, and that's just what it is, and it's fine. Like it's gonna be awesome. But yeah, so like that's kind of me just summing up the youth battle and the youth discussion and just kind of like wrapping that whole thing because like that's really what it is. That it's like we just came here, we did this battle for youth, and now like everything is like healing. Like we didn't done the healing realm battle. Like I've revealed myself as Disney Junior because like Disney did this thing, this like River Full of Memory Full Metal Alchemist thing, and it was like Disney Junior was actually making these movies this whole time. And so like that's kind of what's happening. And so it's like we're just in an era that now that is not what we like envisioned, but is actually really awesome, and that's a good thing. Like I think that that's a really great thing. But yeah, like that's just where we are right now, and it's awesome. But like, it's just we just have to embrace these things, like Native American royalty, like natural remedies, uh, polytheism, kings, American kings, pyramids in America. Like that's really what it is. So we just have to embrace this because it's awesome. And yeah, so like that's my Healing Realm summary, author commentary summary. Love you, America. Love you, Earth. I am going to Australia though. Okay, so the marijuana and like alcohol case study, I do think that that is important, and I do think it would be beneficial um, for medical marijuana to be studied accurately and to be legalized. I do genuinely believe that. I stand by that. But the Grinch and the All Is Well and the tea, that's the actual solution with sobriety. And so I'm going to clear this misconception for people is that like, and in Conto, I did post that like, I did post like medical marijuana, and I was advocating for that because I do genuinely believe that that would be beneficial for people. I was not saying that that was a substitute for sobriety though. That's not what I said. That's why I came here and got sober because I can be so I don't need a so I can do that all by myself. Like I don't need like a I don't need to really self medicate. Like it was actually like integral police involvement that was actually the solution. And so like and it was exposing police corruption that was the solution. And so that was actually what it was. But I do still like I stand by that marijuana and alcohol case study. I do genuinely believe that is important, and that people would benefit from having medical marijuana being an option. And I think that people would benefit genuinely from people actually accurately and effectively studying the effectiveness of medical marijuana and contrasting that to alcoholism and alcohol use. That is actually important. I genuinely believe that that is important. That like we actually need to actually study what are the actual effects of these things, and not from a monetary lens. We have gone through all of the possibilities, and the common denominator is money. The common denominator in our economy crashing is money. The common denominator in people being poorly educated is money. The common denominator in like um, uh, like people being unqualified, like unqualified people having like certain positions or whatever, money. Like the motivation generally is money, and that actually like the downfall of much of what has happened in America has been money. That is the common denominator. That is just the objective truth. And so I think that that's actually it's really important that like people are actually aware of that, and that we are actually like um that we are actually kind of like providing statistics on this, and that we're actually like studying this like scientifically, because it is the truth. And it was a bold thing for me to come here and do, but it's the truth though. Like most of what has been happening in North America that has been to our detriment, the common denominator of that was money. It is absolutely the truth. Bribery, ransom money, buying elections, hostage situations. The common denominator is money. It is the absolute truth. And so, to like the architecture firm, like the Prosperity Architect Movement, even though like people don't necessarily know how to phase money out instantly, like or what like it like what is the how is our society going to function without an economy? Like what is the alternative to having monetary transactions? We don't necessarily, even though we don't have like, even though that hasn't been like like solidified at the moment, that's what cost deflation is. So like the prosperity architect movement, how much in the world, how much can be deflated in the world? Maybe that's even what Star and Baymax kind of represents. How much, and also just my body in general, my little sexy boy, jelly body, my little Agnar sexy body. Like how much like cost deflation can we achieve with the prosperity architects movement? How much like debt and cost can we eliminate with the prosperity architect movement? And then what is left for people to actually need to pay for if like the if like all housing is free, if housing is a basic right, then how much can we make free? And then we can determine how our economy works, what the role of the economy is in the future going forward, in the present now that we've arrived in the future. Because my brain has arrived in the future, and you're all welcome to join. But like I think that that's kind of what's happening, is that it's like even though we have not solidified the like whatever we are like even though we have not solidified the alternative to money, what is how much cost deflation can we achieve with the prosperity architect movement? How much cost deflation can we achieve, and how many people's lives would be saved if people are not like motivated by money? If people are not kidnapping people for money, if people are not killing people for money, if people are not um, like if the sole motivation of whether you're hiring somebody is because of their like monetary background or whatever. If our colleges, our education system, how much will our education system improve with like housing and with like the cost inflation that comes with the prosperity architect movement? How much will our economy improve if higher education is free? How much will our education improve if the only people that are going to that are being higher educated are people who are in the meritocracy, people whose intellect actually arrives to them at that institution of education. People who aren't, if no one is buying their way into anything, how much will that improve our society? If the only people that are suited, the only people working anywhere, the only people being educated anywhere are the people who are qualified to do that, are the people who are suited to do that, are the people whose intellect is of that quality, of that institution. How much would that improve the world if those are the only people being higher educated, are people who are intelligent, not somebody who bought their way into a school, not somebody who is trying to force a conservative agenda or force an intelligent, higher educated person or a wealthy person to marry somebody just um, for a monetary advantage. How much would that improve society if that is off the table? And then how, if there is money, if there is an economy, how little will people have to pay for things since we do not have since we have not solidified the alternative? What would be left for people to pay for? Would people only need pennies on the dollar? Like, would people only need like a cup, like, chump change to buy anything or to like survive in society? Because then, yeah, maybe there is an economy, but that economy is the size of an ant, and the prosperity architected in it is like how people will be able to like flourish and prosper and grow in society. I think that's a very simple solution to like an age-old societal uh, debate or whatever. And so like I think that that's actually like everybody having access to everything for more or less for free. There isn't really a downside to that. There was only a downside to it when it didn't seem possible, but it is possible. So why is the conversation not, oh, this is possible now, so let's figure out how to do that, instead of conservative regression trying to force people and pigeonhole people into something that is not benefiting them, into something that is not benefiting anyone, and that seems to the sole like role in society seems to be to trap people, to entrap people, to gaslight people, to bribe people. Like it's the black and white issue that money was isn't black and white anymore. It is a full light color spectrum now. And so that's how we should shift the conversation is how do we actually bring this to fruition now? Because like it is possible now. It wasn't possible before. Eugenics, that's possible now. That wasn't possible before. Genetic engineering, that is possible now. That wasn't possible before. So that's what we should be discussing is how we actually move forward into the future instead of like bitching and moaning about the past. Instead of being like, oh, yeah, like this is something that like people like this is something that like makes your daughter feel like she is like something that she isn't. That how is that benefiting society? Way that like how is that comparable to the prosperity of all of human beings that your daughter has to be just what she is, your daughter. Deliberate.